Hello, everyone. It's Anirudh Gupta here with the Square Drive podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Peter Della Penna, freelance journalist, and basically, really one of the biggest journalists in cricket. I've been reading this guy's work since I started following USA Cricket. How are you doing today?
I'm having a great time, and who wouldn't after the final we saw here? The way that match ended between the Unicorns and the Freedom was a thrilling finish, and it's why you want to work in the business.
Yeah, just an amazing game. So, I guess what I want to ask you, what's the favorite part about your job and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
That's a great question. I think one of the things I get the most satisfaction out of is being able to tell stories that other people are not telling. And one of the things, I've had mentors growing up through high school and college, and since then, they kind of stress to me is be unique, don't do what everybody else is doing. And I think that's an approach I took to heart a long time ago when I was doing my journalism degree. And even now, it's just, there's a whole lot of people in the press box, and there's a lot of different stories you can tell. And sometimes the least obvious ones wind up being the best stories, because there's so many things that you can look at and share with the audience, but oftentimes there's things that are obvious that are going to attract more attention, and they're going to be the things that the majority of the crowd is going to be looking at and absorbing. And if you just try and see things from a slightly different perspective, or try and get a slightly different take on things to just set yourself apart a little bit. It's not necessarily about trying to be necessarily better or trying to elevate yourself in terms of some kind of big picture thing where you think that's the way to be the best. I think the best way that I can tell a story is to make sure that I'm trying to tell it in the most unique way possible and give it the most unique voice and unique perspective. And I'll never forget when I was at sports broadcasting camp in high school. There is such a thing in New Jersey. It exists now. It's been going on for 20 plus years. It was Bruce Beck and Ian Eagle that ran it. And one of the things that they stress to the kids is, at the time, Bruce Beck and Ian Eagle, Bruce Beck had been a big, well-known sportscaster in New York City for 30 plus years. And Ian Eagle, at that point, he had been doing New Jersey Nets, who eventually turned into the Brooklyn Nets, broadcasts on television on the S Network in New York, New Jersey. This is well before he became kind of the voice of the Final Four for men's college basketball, and he's been doing NFL and other things as well for a very long time. But you have all these high school kids looking up to him, wanting to get into the business like him, and he said to all the kids, don't try to imitate me. Don't try to pretend to be Ian Eagle. Be yourself. Be the first Peter Della Penna. Be the first Anirudh Gupta. Okay? Don't put pressure on yourself to try and imitate somebody else. Just be authentic, be natural, be yourself. And that's what I've tried to do in my journey through cricket journalism. And again, I think the best way for me to try and achieve that is to just find the most unique and original way to tell a story, rather than try and rehash what somebody else is doing.
I think that's amazing about like storytelling and being unique in that sense. And I was going to ask you this, what's your advice to aspiring journalists in media? And I know you touched on that a bit, but is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think there's a question that I've gotten quite frequently over the years, and I've had discussions with Aman Patel, who is working on the MLC broadcast, and I know he's given similar answers. And it's the fact that when you are in a position to get opportunities to do things, it's more about again just being yourself, and also just not getting overwhelmed, or not trying to do things that are just not natural. You know, again, being authentic, being yourself, that's the key. And for me, again, how do you get your start? This is something that Aman has talked about, and I know I've mentioned it. When people say, "Oh, how do you get your start?" I want to do what you do. I want to write for ESPN. I want to be broadcasting. If you're Aman, I want to be on the MLC broadcast. I want to be doing play-by-play or color commentary, whatever. And it's a long and sometimes boring journey to get to that point. It's not very glamorous. You don't just get there overnight. You don't just get a paid opportunity. It might not sound very glamorous or dramatic, but I got my start by just starting my own blog and doing unpaid, free writing, free reporting, and it was purely just to get my name out there and to establish a profile to show that I can do these things. Now, I had a degree in journalism, but I had not yet gotten paid opportunities. Mm-hmm. And it's almost a chicken or the egg thing. How are you going to get a paid opportunity unless you can demonstrate you're capable of doing something? And so for me, it was, if nobody's going to give me a paid opportunity, I've got to create an opportunity for myself. And that meant starting my own website, my own blog. And it took some time, but after many months and a few years of doing unpaid work, finally somebody paid attention enough to say, "Hey, I came across your website. I like the writing you do. Now I'd like to pay you for it." And I see the photos you're doing. I see maybe you've done those photos for free, or that it's your own personal collection. But hey, you demonstrated enough skill that I'd be willing to pay you going forward. And I know Aman has told similar stories where he has said his first gig doing broadcasting was he just set up a Facebook Live feed. Mm-hmm. And he was at a local cricket match in Morrisville, and it was nobody else was doing the broadcasting, so he said, "All right, I'll just use my phone, set up the feed, and I'll just do play-by-play and color commentary like a lot of kids have done." And I was somebody who did it too, where you're playing video games at home, you're on the PlayStation, you're playing John Madden football, and you got the John Madden volume on mute because you're doing your own play-by-play of what the video game action is on field, and you're simulating and you're getting repetitions in that way. It was all unpaid from it. It was all unpaid for me at the start. And I think sometimes there are a lot of people who not necessarily want to take shortcuts, but there's a sense of instant gratification. I want to get paid now. I want to have the fast track. And for some people that can happen, it's very rare. The more common path, it's by no means exciting. It's not one I recommend, but if it is something you're interested in, you're going to have to kind of carve out your own identity, and that might begin with doing unpaid opportunities, and then hopefully at some point you do get noticed and people have enough faith in you that they will start to pay you to do stuff, and then more doors start to open, and you can find yourself right here in Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was truly inspirational. I think a lot of people can really take something from that message. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
My pleasure, Andrew. Thank you for having me.